Hey, sis, welcome to Bring Out the Woman, the podcast where faith meets healing, purpose meets truth, and the walls that you have built in for yourself come crashing down. I am Pastor Keon. I am your host, and I want to welcome you and invite you to take a breath and take a moment and let's bring out the woman within. In today's episode, I am going to talk about a lie that many of us probably say to ourselves without knowing it. It's the lie that says, if I don't hold it all together, everything will fall apart. What's wrong with that is, what if you do let things fall apart? What would that look like? But in some ways, we've made it our responsibility to hold everything together, and sometimes at our own detriment. And so the lie, when you first hear it, it doesn't sound dangerous. It doesn't sound like it's even self seeking. It sounds responsible, faithful. It even sounds like you're strong and you have strength. But in my book, You're in Danger, Girl, that I've often referenced here on this platform, I share how easy it is to confuse being dependable with being whole. And I didn't wake up one day and decide to portray myself. I learned how to do that over time, right? Disappearing slowly while still showing up for others, for everyone else, for my husband, for the kids, for my church, for my work, for my parents, everybody. But slowly you're chipping away because it's when you put other things, other priorities over your own needs. And so somewhere along the way, being everything became my identity. And for many of us, we will prefer performance over really being honest about where we are. As long as we're performing, as long as we're showing up, as long as we call it dominating and doing those things without really taking time to pause, pour into ourselves, check in with you. Are you good? Like, are you really good? Sometimes you got to look in the mirror at yourself like, girl, you need to slow down. And so that's the truth we're going to unpack today, that being everything for everyone will eventually cost you you. And that is the reality of it. So here's my first point I want to talk about. Over functioning is self abandonment. Over functioning is self abandonment. It often looks like love. We'll say it. Oh, I'm showing up. I love her. That's my sister. I got to be there. I told her I would do this. I told them that they can depend on me. And we over function, but it's really self abandonment in disguise. Because what we're doing is, it's while we're trying to fix things, while we're rescuing, while we're managing, compensating, and carrying, we're ignoring our own spiritual, our own emotional, and our own physical needs. Now, if you have it well balanced, then you're good. You're a superstar. You can do it. But if, as I'm sharing these things, you are starting to see, I recognize that in myself, I want you to keep listening. In my book, I said I was present for everyone else while slowly becoming absent from myself. Like, how can that be? That we can be so present, so involved, so available, but slowly not being present for myself. And so I want to go over three ways quickly you can know you're over functioning. You feel responsible for outcomes that are not yours. You manage people's emotions, choices, and consequences and feel anxious when you don't. It's all about them. If I don't do this, my mom's going to feel like I'm not there to support her. If I don't show up for the kids, they're not going to know what to do. Right. And so we make it our responsibility for their outcome when we really need to be putting the pressure and the responsibility and the outcome in their lap, not yours. You feel guilty resting or saying no, right? Sometimes for some of us, rest feels irresponsible. It feels like if we set boundaries, we feel like it's selfish, right? We can set boundaries in some areas, but there may be some people where we struggle to put a boundary around because of the relationship or how high esteem you hold the person, right? And stillness sometimes can make you feel uneasy. And so I want to tell you, if you can't be still and settled and at peace and calm with yourself, there's something going on there. Because with anything, you should be able to sit in stillness and rest and recover, because God made our bodies to rest, to take a break. If you're productive but not peaceful, some of you are very productive, you're excellent, you're winners, you're killing it in workplace, wherever, ministry, marketplace, everywhere. You're doing things and things are getting done, but at the end of it, you're depleted, you're tired, you're sluggish, you have a headache, you're irritable, and you're disconnected from joy. There's no real joy after you've accomplished it. You just know that it was done. But in your heart of hearts, you really don't feel joy. So here's the quiet truth that helped me shift. And it comes from the scripture, John 8:36. So if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. Freedom isn't something I earn by doing more. Freedom is something I receive. I receive freedom, right? If I'm saying I am aligned, I am a Christ follower, I believe in Jesus, and He set me free. If you're still struggling or depleted, you need to take a break and a pause and ask yourself, are you performing for recognition? Where is that coming from? Or at the end of it, you're not doing it to receive anything. You freely receive freedom. It's not tied in what you do or how you show up. Here's another way. The root. We got to get out the root. The need to be good, needed, and reliable. For me, this didn't start in adulthood. I had to go back and I started thinking. It started in childhood, right? Growing up, I grew up in a single parent home. I had a lot of responsibility on me. And because I had a single parent, I always wanted to do good. I always wanted to show up. I had to help with chores. I had to help take care of my brother, right? I wanted to get good grades and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't adding too much on to my mother's plate. But understanding very young that being good meant being helpful, right? And dependable and low maintenance. Because as long as I was doing good, showing up, being good, there was not really much that my mom needed to check up on me with, right? I didn't learn how to overfunction because I was proud. I learned because I needed stability. I needed stability in my life. So if it couldn't get done, I wanted to do it because there would be one less thing that she had to worry about, or one less thing that had to be added to the list. And that made me feel stable, if that makes sense. And it helped my identity, right? Identity became pressure because now when people say, oh my gosh, Keon, she's such a responsible kid, right? Even in elementary school, I started having the secretary like volunteer me to pick up other kids in the neighborhood to walk them to school who were too young and their parents didn't want to walk them because she knew I was dependable. I'm like in the fifth grade. Now I got to pick up third graders. And that became my identity. She's dependable. You can counter her. She's responsible. And so that comes with pressure, right? So now I have to live up to that. Even if I don't want to do it, now I have to do it because I was asked. So you have to look at that. And not that pride says, look at me, but pride that says, they can't do this without me. That's pride. Because the reality is, these things can be done without you. If you remove yourself from the equation, what will happen? So if you're so used to doing everything for your kids, making sure this and that, checking their homework, and what if you don't and they forget to do their homework? Oh, well, right? They'll have to make it up the next day or later in the week and learn how to be responsible for themselves. But we'll put all that pressure on us because we feel like they can't do it without me. Proverbs 11:12 says, when pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. So humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's trusting God enough not to put yourself in his place. And I have to be honest with you, in my life, there have been times when I look back and I said, I put myself in God's place. Oh, I'm going to take care of it. Don't worry. Everything going to work out. The sky is falling. This is on fire. This guy, but I'm going to figure it out and I will do it and it will get done. But at my expense, I may be in my bed later on, curled up like a ball, stressed out, trying to decompress from all the weight that we put on ourselves. But it got done. But was that really a win? Was that really a success? Right? Because you put yourself in God's place. The people that need to learn what to do, how to show up for themselves, haven't learned that. What they've learned is, don't worry, she got it. She'll take care of it. Here's my third point. The myth of being the strong one. How many of you are the strong ones in your family? The strong one, and I'm saying in quotes, strong one in your sister circle, your friendships, because the strong one is usually the most tired person in the room. Oh, I could clap my hands because that's truth, sis. And you know it. If you're the strong one, you know most times you are the most tired person in the room. The one who doesn't ask for help, the one who bleeds quietly but still shows up, and the one who feels like rest has to be earned. Like if you don't do all this, I can't rest. I haven't done anything, right? In my book, I wrote, strength became my identity and it also became my prison. Because I was so strong, I stayed in a relationship longer than I should have because I was strong. I was going to make this work. I was going to keep this family together. Me by myself in God's place. I'm inserting myself, not realizing if I let it all fall, maybe God will come in then and do his good work. But no, I'm going to hold it all together. So strength without support leads to silence. If you don't have support, it does. You internalize everything. You're leading and bleeding, showing up, but inside you're bleeding. Silence then leads to isolation, and isolation leads to burnout. That's what I'm saying. You will end up in your room with your thumb in your mouth. And I'm laughing, but it's a reality. Some of us have lived this, right? And if there is no freedom in how I'm showing up, something is off. So that's how you can weigh, am I overcompensating? Am I really performing? Or is this something that I'm doing? Because freedom should show up even in what you do. 2 Corinthians 3:17 says, now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom, there is liberty. If what I'm doing consistently robs me of freedom, I need to pause, not push harder. You need to use that as a gauge, right? Because if it consistently robs me of freedom, I need to pause. I need to examine and see. Maybe God is not here. And if God isn't in this, maybe I shouldn't be either. Here's another one. If I choose me too. Let's talk about the woman with the issue of blood. 12 years of bleeding, 12 years of disappointment she had, 12 years of being considered unclean by custom and culture, right? She wasn't supposed to be in public. She wasn't supposed to touch anyone. That day, she chose her. She made a decision for herself. She broke tradition to get what she needed from Jesus that day. She refused to bleed quietly any longer. She said, here is my chance and I'm going to take it, right? And You're in Danger, Girl, I talk about how many of us learned how to endure pain silently so we wouldn't disrupt systems, relationships, families, expectations. So we'll suffer in silence to keep the peace while we're slowly being chipped away. But Jesus didn't even rebuke her or tell her to go away for choosing herself. He honored her, right? He said to her, your faith has healed you. Your faith, daughter, has made you whole. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's faithfulness. It's taking a stand and saying, today I am going to choose me. Point number 5, you got to have discernment when the grace lifts. I talk about this a lot with my friends because this is how I know when I'm carrying something God didn't assign. When the grace lifts. And I know when my grace lifts, I'm short with people, I'm irritable, I'm uncreative, I'm tired, I'm sluggish, I'm resentful. It all shows up, right? That's not failure, right? If you use those cues, it's information. You have to start learning how you operate, how you respond. When you know grace has lifted in your life, what happens to you, right? Because God never assigns what he doesn't also supply. If he assigns this assignment, and I've walked this, you're in something for a season, he's planted you here in this, right? And you got the grace because you're flowing, things are going. Not that there isn't any opposition or challenges or problems, but you have the grace and you feel the grace. When the grace lifts, perhaps the assignment is over. And it's God trying to get you to be redirected to another way. But because we get so self-absorbed, and especially if you're killing it, you're doing a great job. Nah, I'm doing this thing. This is where, no, I'm here. You've already exceeded every expectation. Maybe there's nothing more left for you to do there. Doesn't mean that God is not done with you, but just maybe that assignment is over, right? Because he always says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. If you are in it, that yoke is going to be easy. The burden is going to be light. Doesn't mean it's not going to be challenging, but you won't feel depleted in the work. So some assignments end not because you failed, but because you obeyed long enough. You've obeyed long enough. Now it's time to move on. So I want to call you to a reflection, right? I want you to take a moment and just reflect over some of the things that I've shared with you today. What part of my life feels like a performance? Where are you showing up like you're on stage? You're just performing because you know you're good at it, right? You know you can accomplish it, but it's really not feeding you anymore. Where has the grace lifted, but I stayed anyway? Ooh, child. I could write a book about that. Where has the grace lifted, but I stayed anyway? And are you staying because of pride? Are you staying because it's comfortable? Because many of us will stay in something. The grace has lifted, but it's comfortable, and I know how to handle it. I know what to do, but God is saying, I'm not there anymore. I've moved on. You're supposed to be over here, right? Or what am I afraid will happen if I stop being everything? If you stop answering the phone every time it rings, if you stop showing up for your kids when they're in crisis, and I'm talking about grown kids, I'm not talking about the babies, grown kids got their own lives. If you stop showing up, what would that look like? What would happen? Do you have the courage to say, I'm going to let it all fall? Because I was there one time. I made a decision that I had to leave my home. I had to exit. Stage left. It's time to go. Hardest decision of my life. And things fell apart. Oh, they fell apart. But here's what I learned. When you let things fall apart, the people you think don't know how to manage, don't know how to exist, don't know how to live, oh, they will show you. They know how to figure it out. And sometimes they've had it figured out all along. But because you want to perform, they're going to let you. Because for some of us, they've learned it's easy to let you do it anyway because you think you know best. I'm telling you, it'll humble you. So write it down. No fixing, just noticing. Take notice of how you're showing up. Take notice of how you feel after you've accomplished something. Take notice of where you're really showing up as everything. You're not asking for help. You're not setting healthy boundaries. You're not telling people, no, not this time. I can't be there. Can't do it. I'm sorry. And I don't even think you need to say, I'm sorry. Can't do it this time. And pause. See what happens. What comes next? For some of you, you're going to get a lot of resistance at first. But if you keep saying it, I promise you, it will get better. Because at the end of the day, I want to remind you that healing begins with honesty. You can't conquer what you don't confront. And you have to be real with you first. Then we can move on and be real with others. So I hope that this episode um, gave you something to think about. And I really do want you to think on the reflections. And I want you to go in the comments and let me know your thoughts. What part of my life feels like a performance? Where has the grace lifted, but I stayed anyway? And what am I afraid will happen if I ever stop being everything? Because if you're living in that existence of pride, come on, you're going to fall, right? Because that's what the word tells us. So you have to start having some humility and really putting yourself first. Well, I know that throughout this episode and also in some of the others, if you have joined me in the previous ones, I've talked about my book, You're in Danger, Girl, Exposing Self-Betrayal to the Power of Rest and Self-Care. I just wanted to remind you that you can go and get this book on Amazon, be delivered to your door. You can also get it in Kindle format if you like to read things electronically. But please go and support, get the book. And I'm so glad that you were with me today. And thank you for joining me. And remember, the woman you're becoming is worth the work. God sees you, God is with you, and God is calling you out of every wall that once tried to silence you. Until next time, keep bringing out the woman in you.